Hello. Hello.
Yes, hi. We're waiting for everyone to join.
All right. So I've asked Gretchen to chair this because I'm in a car driving, and so I won't be able to read the script. So she's going to chair it. But I'm here for quorum.
That sounds perfect.
Thank you, Gretchen. And just to clarify, Chris, is your understanding that quorum is based on the total number of commissioners as opposed to the membership of the executive committee?
That is the case. That quorum is based, and if every chair of every committee joins, we should be at quorum. But in the case that every chair is not there, then we need one or two members of the commission at large.
So what's the
So
bottom line? We need 6 people or 7.
I'm going to go and get my abacus, and I'll get back to you.
so we have 3 so far. Hi, Julianne.
Hey, I don't even know. Is my mic on?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can hear you.
Yeah. Oh, hello.
How's everybody doing?
Good. Oh, we have Demetrius. Good. So we have 4 so far. Good.
2 away. 2 away.
Yes, we
2
need
away.
6. We need 6, I believe. 6.
Our
There's
board is 12 people.
Right.
Yeah,
Quorum
we just
half.
went through that, so that's why he's answering the question.
Okay.
You still have 2 minutes.
Yep.
According to my clock. Ooh,
Who's doing
everything's
the
going on.
slide? Who's managing the slides?
Are there slides?
Edward will be managing putting up the documents and sharing his screen once the meeting starts.
Thank you.
Hey, Edward. I hope you're having a good summer. I haven't seen you in a while.
Thank you. It's been a great summer. It's lovely and not 100 degrees right now, which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Hey, Aaron. How's it going?
Hello there. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Good to see you. I
See you
feel
all.
like I haven't seen people in a while. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I went on vacation. Like left
Yes.
the
Your
We've been doing
your
Fringe.
pictures look lovely. Also in Montana. She spent some time back in Montana. It's
doing,
great.
listening to country music and doing the 2-step comes back like you never left.
I was just looking at a movie the other night that a lot of it was filmed in Montana.
Oh, really?
Don't ask me the name. I'm trying to remember. I'll text you the name if I can go back and find it. Yeah. The scenery was beautiful.
Yeah.
There we
So how many are we? 5 now or 4?
Why don't we have like the chairs of committees
Four.
joining
They're,
this? Like
they're
where's
supposed
the
they're supposed to.
That's who the executive committee is.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
That,
just a little maybe
that
we're having some disconnect on something. I guess I'll text Chase, see if he's.
Good idea.
Right?
So I'll ask, because I can't see, how many are we now?
We're
Commissioners?
still at the
We're
same.
four.
Same,
Okay.
same number. Let me try Carla.
I'm emailing the whole commission base right now too,
Great.
with the link.
Hi, are you joining the executive committee call?
And Kimber,
Who just sent the link out?
Chris,
Chris Hill.
Kristen.
I'm about
Okay,
to
Chris-
send it out right now. It just
Chris-
sent.
Chris is sending it again. He sent it before, but he just sent it. We need you on the call.
Chase said
dear.
he's joining.
who is?
Okay.
Chase.
Oh, good.
He's
So
emailing it
Chase
to you. You sent it to Carla's regular email also, correct?
Yeah, it should be all of her emails are on there, I believe.
Yeah. Let me know that you have it. You have it?
Hmm.
No?
She said that it's saying that it's
I'm
waiting
on.
for the host to start the meeting.
I'm on now.
Okay. Oh, he's
Hi,
on now.
Chase.
Hey,
Hey,
everybody.
Chase.
In the executive committee meeting.
Where are we finding you, Chase?
Still in Chautauqua, New York.
Nice.
Doing a lot of art, literature, religion.
Chautauqua or Chappaqua?
Chautauqua.
Uh,
There's a difference.
I grew up in Chappaqua.
Can you, Chris, Carla doesn't have it yet. Can you text it to her? Let me see did you just send it to her or just send it, did you send it to everyone?
I sent it to all of us.
All right, let me look
uh,
and see if I have it again.
I may
Okay.
have her
All right,
I'm not gonna say her email over the air, but
No, that's okay. Let me see if I can text it.
Sorry, I'll go on mute.
I just shared with a third email I have for Carla, so maybe that one works.
Sending it to her in text also. Carla? Carla?
Yes.
I just texted it to you. You got it?
Carla's
Okay.
on.
Yep. Okay, who else do I need to call? How many are there here?
We're six now, right? And Carla's on.
She made 6, 1.
Yeah, because Chase and Carla make six.
Yep.
Alrighty.
Yep, we're at a quorum.
Oh my God, it's only
That's
5
Reggie's
minutes
gavel.
after 4.
Good.
All right, it's now 4:06 and the meeting will come to order. It's Wednesday, August the 14th. This is an executive committee meeting of the District of Columbia Commission on the Arts and Humanities. My name is Gretchen Wharton, Commission Vice Chair. Chair Van Lee is also on the call but unable to read the minutes and read the agenda because he's driving. So we'll take the roll call now. See, I'm gonna go down the list here. Julianne
Present.
Brienza, Chase Maggiano,
Present.
Reggie Van Lee,
Present.
Carl, are you there? Carla Sims? Carla Sims? Carla,
I think she's trying to come off mute.
Carla? I know she's there. I can see this. I can't, we need Carla to check in to
Yeah,
make
let's
sure
see
we
if
have
we
her.
can circle back
Okay,
to
I'm
her.
sorry, I'm
Oh, there
unmuted
she is.
now. Good.
Yep.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So
Sorry.
with Carla being present, then we have a quorum to start the meeting. Okay, a quorum is present. This is a meeting of a public body held in open session and is governed by the Open Meetings Act. Please address any questions or complaints arising under this meeting to the Office of Open Government at OpenGov office at dc.gov. Notice of this meeting was posted in the DC Register on the Commission's website, dcarts.dc.gov, and on the DC Office of Open Government Central Meetings calendar at opendc.gov. The meeting is being conducted remotely using the Zoom platform. The meeting is live streamed on the Commission's YouTube channel. An electronic recording of the meeting will be available for viewing online following the conclusion of this meeting. I will now read the land acknowledgement. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will. Some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life. And some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. We stand on the ancestral lands of the Nacotchtank and the Piscataway people. We pay respect to their elders past and present. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us together here today. And please join us in uncovering such truths at any and all public events, and to use such truths to guide the legacy of this Arts Commission. Is there any objection to the agenda that was previously circulated? Hearing none, the agenda stands as adopted. Good afternoon and welcome to everyone, those of you who are part of the commission and any visitors and other joiners that we have. We're going to start with the adoption of the updates to the bylaws. There's been a lot of work put into this, and I really want to commend Julianne for the work she's done on it. It's laborious, totally laborious. It took months. We've gotten the input from everyone we could think of, and certainly all of the commissioners and all of the committee chairs. So Julianne, I'd like to turn this over to you so you can discuss the adoption of the updates to the bylaws.
All right. Here we are, a week out from our big August 19th meeting where we're going to
Excuse me,
adopt.
are we going to put them on the screen?
Yep, coming right now.
Okay, thanks.
As you know, I've been writing August 19th since the holidays. That would be the holidays last year. The governance committee first came to the executive committee at our February 12th meeting to present the proposed revisions. In June and July, we worked on various edits and putting the edits physically into the bylaws with David St. John and David Martinez, the staff at the commission. And we are now here. The amendments to the bylaws have been read aloud numerous times. So there is no need to read through all of them at this meeting, nor will we be reading through them at the meeting on August 19th. The direction I have received is that we can do an up and down vote on the whole kit and caboodle. Yes. So at this time, unfortunately, we do not have our committee chairs all at this meeting. And part of the amendments to the bylaws is really strengthening the scheduling of our committees and really shoring up how we're all working together. So I'm going to do my best, as well as other commissioners, to make sure that we are, you know, doing our service here. Does anyone who is a commissioner that will be voting on these at the August 19th meeting have anything that they want to cross-check or clarify during this meeting today with what has been included in the bylaws and discussed really since February? Anybody got anything they want to bring up, rehash? Anybody? Okay. Sounds like we don't have any further clarifications. An important thing to keep in mind as we get ready for August 19th is that once the amendment is accepted, if you remember the new amendment at the very last page, if you want to scroll down to that final page. Yeah, there you go. The governance committee shall conduct a full review of the bylaws every 3 years and shall present the amendments and revisions to XCOM for a vote during a public meeting. Well, one of the things that David St. John pointed out was that would be next year. So we're gonna continue the bylaw work as we move into the new fiscal year. But for today, I'm gonna leave it at that and say thanks for everyone that helped along the way. David St. John, David Martins, Reggie Van Lee, Gretchen, who took many calls from me. I thank all of you getting us to this point, and now it's up to us to use them as we move forward into the fiscal year. Or as Gretchen likes to say, let's not make another report and leave it on a shelf. Okay, we're not going to do that, right, Gretchen?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
If I may, I would just join Gretchen in thanking you, Julianne, and the governance committee for taking us through this process. I think it's painful, but it's important. So thank you. And we have an opportunity to revisit again just next year. Good for us, right?
Never
But
going to stop.
This is good. Thank you, Julianne.
Okay, do any of the commissioners have any questions, comments? Because I'd like to note that this did leave the executive committee meeting fully endorsed by those in attendance.
Perhaps you can go person by person, whether
Yeah,
XCOM or not, and just see if they have any comments. Gretchen.
Yeah, I'm looking at the list now to go down the, oh, Hector, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yeah, hi. Okay. Welcome. Did you have any comments on the on Julianne's report for the bylaws, or is everything okay with you so that we can, as an executive committee, endorse it for the full commission?
I have no comments. That's fine. I'd like to join everybody else in thanking Julianne for working so diligently, as well as all the others who did. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next person is Julianne, so I'm sure she's endorsing. Reggie?
I feel pretty good about
it. Okay, Reggie?
Yep, I'm good, both as a commissioner, but also as the interim chair of the IDEA committee. So this committee is represented there.
Wonderful, thank you. Carla?
I'm here.
Okay, are you okay with the adoption of the bylaws?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
All right. Okay, who's after Carla? Chase?
Julianne, you are a hero. Thank you for this work. And I endorse and look forward to utilizing these bylaws.
We are absolutely not leaving them in the drawer, for sure. Okay, here,
Demetrius is on as well.
Who's on?
oh, Demetrius, you are there. Okay, perfect.
I'm here, Gretchen. You've left me out all meeting. I was
Now,
gonna text you and say something.
now you know I didn't do that on purpose. I love you,
I
darling.
know you. I know you did. I love you too. How's everybody doing?
We're fine. So any comments on the bylaws?
I don't have any comments, and thank you guys for doing it.
Thank you. Then let the record show that the executive committee does endorse the bylaws as they've been presented by Julianne.
And I think the only committee missing is finance in the form of Kimber. So,
Correct.
So we certainly have more than a majority of the
Yeah, we
executive
do.
committee endorsing this officially.
Yeah. Okay. Now we have our donation agreement and then sponsorships. So I'm going to turn it over to Aaron.
Hello, everybody. So you want to go, you want to do donation first?
Please.
Okay. So me and we have worked with a few entities within DC government to kind of understand exactly where we could be and where we are when it comes to what we can do from a sponsorship level. So I'm going to start from the back end and go backwards, I would say. So on the back end, we've reached out to the OCFO's office. They have a process there that is pretty straightforward and pretty simple. And they've already alerted our FO there at the OCFO's office and to get everything ready and prepared so that when we're ready to put something there, we'll have that together. I'm going to skip the middle part and we'll go to the beginning part of the process. Internally, our OGC has been able to create some of the forms that we would need inside, the intake forms and the policy in which we would start the process and what would deem to be a donation that we could accept and all of the rules around that. That's all been determined. And so from that standpoint, we are somewhat ready to go. Now, here's the place where we're still waiting. When this policy from, I think, ServDC was updated, it was also done around the time we were becoming independent. And so what we're trying to see now is that if we have to go through the mayor's office to accept donations, or do we simply have to report to them once we have received them and gone to the OCFO's office? So we've met with that office and they are seeking that understanding themselves. David St. John, I think you and Robin may have met with us earlier. Would you like to expand on some of this at all?
Thank you, Aaron. All I can say I personally did not meet with members of the mayor's office. Robin did, but I will note that just reiterate what Aaron had stated, that we are currently just trying to figure out that hiccup as to whether or not the mayor's office has the authority, or I should say, whether CAH has the authority to accept donations without prior approval from the mayor's office or not. We will have an answer to that probably within the next week. Obviously, David Martinez, our general counsel, is out until Monday. He, I, and Robin will be discussing this on Monday when he gets back in, as well as reaching back out to the mayor's office. We'll have an answer very shortly on this.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. We'll switch over now to sponsorships. And so this is, we have come quite a ways and we know more now than I think we ever wanted to know about sponsorships in mass when it comes to the commission. This is a good thing. There's a lot of people in the district and every agency, so I should give some history. Every agency is approached by certain people within the community asking, hey, we have this event or we have this cause, we have this effort. Would you as an agency like to support from a financial standpoint? And depending upon an agency's budget, size, if they have something available, if there's things that they did not move forward with and they have some money they would like to spend down so that it's not taken and it causes their budgets to shrink, what have you, then agencies give that money out or they give that support out. to my knowledge, that this will be one of the more formalized processes that we are looking to put forward as far as a donation policy is concerned. And this is a draft. And what we have done, we try to articulate here some of the things that I have not only thought of, and some things that Chris has thought of, as far as when we try to consider donations and when people come and ask the commission for certain types of support. I will start by saying, when we had our meeting with OCP in the winter, one of the things that I discussed, I use a term that's not, utilized in OCP or at the OCFO's office, and that term is partnership. There has to be something that the agency, that the taxpayer is able to get or ascertain or have as a result of supporting things that would be outside or separate and apart from our grant processes. We realize that the agency.
Aaron.
Oh, yeah.
This is Reggie. I'm sorry to apologize. Are you talking about donations or sponsorships?
We switched over to sponsorships.
You said donations a couple of times.
You keep saying donations.
Oh, I'm so
so
sorry. I'm just a little tired.
It's okay.
I apologize.
Okay. So you should wind the tape back and make sure we realize you're talking about sponsorships.
Yeah,
So
because the actual document on the screen does show sponsorships. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes, I apologize for that. And so when we are lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. When we're looking at when we had this meeting, the word I used was partnerships. I wanted to ensure that if there are things that we do not have contracting authority, which is what all sponsorships are, we do have granting authority. So if we're looking at partnering with an entity, and we are going to approach the Office of Contracts and Procurement for their permission or for their approval to support any of these partnerships in the form of contracts, they have to meet certain thresholds in a sense. So some of the thresholds that we had considered here, and we have considered, a new event established outside of the grant cycle. The event must be a new event or something significant that serves a part of the art community that is otherwise unserved by the commission. This happens when the time frame leading up to the event or the new nature of the event prohibits the entity from seeking funding through our traditional PEF grant route. One example of this, although we have not done a grant, done a sponsorship for this, but one example of this would be someone who might need some type of tour support or something of that nature. For a lot of festivals, you're unaware a full year out, depending on when your festival is, of who will be performing and maybe even how much your budget will be for that particular thing. And if you're going on tour, you may only have a few months notice to be able to do what you need to do when it comes to that. So there are certain instances where either an event, an occasion, the opportunity, or the request may come from other agencies as well, where it doesn't fit into the payout time or the time frame in which a grant is open. And the person could be new to us and may not know about what we're doing. And the audience in which they serve may be completely new to us as well, which we would then benefit from being able to understand that the commission is in front of that audience. I'm still shocked often when I speak to people and they have no clue who we are, which is very odd to me. When we look at the second eligibility, a new relationship with the commission. The event may have been in existence, but either the producing entity or the community served by the event is a community that the commission does not have established.
Excuse me, Aaron,
Yes.
can I back you up before you go to that one? Where we have
Yes.
new event established outside of the grant cycle.
Yes.
If this is a partnership or a sponsorship, it's not a grant.
Right.
So why does it have to be outside of the grant cycle?
Well, if it's outside of the grant cycle, then we wouldn't be able to do it through a grant. That's one thing. But we want to encourage them to. Wait, say it again.
Well, this is different than grants. We already have grant programs, and they're very specific and they're thoroughly explained, and the qualifications to apply are published everywhere. So this is a bit different to me than the grant cycle. So suppose someone wants a sponsorship for an event.
Right.
and it's quote unquote during the grant cycle, which it really shouldn't be applicable to me.
Right. We would ask them, and we always want to first point them to all of the grants that we have available. The first line of defense always is that if we have grants that they could apply for, that's who they would be going. That's who the entity or what have you would be directed to do. Like for instance, we just had we were at a request about buying some art or working with an artist that had worked with the mayor's office. And speaking to them, they were unaware of our grant lines that we had for public art. So therefore, they decided that they wanted to take advantage of those opportunities, and they were excited to take advantage of that kind of thing. So we always first ask people, whatever you're doing, is this not only grantable, but would you be able to move and operate within the grant lines we've already discussed? Yes, Julianne.
Is the use of the language in saying new event established outside the grant cycle, is this in reaction to funding things like, I don't want to use an organization or an individual's name, but maybe, you know, art events that have been going on for 20 plus years and they don't apply to grants, but they always get sponsorship? Or I'm trying to,
like an automatic.
we looked at this the last time, because we've been looking at this throughout the year, this protocol, and it was something that was new, and maybe they weren't aware of grants, but many folks who get sponsorship are well aware of our grant programs, or they are grantees already. And so where does this new event established outside of the grant cycle work with things that are already established? Do you get what my question is?
Yeah, well, sometimes, like, say, for instance, if I'm already a grantee and maybe the type of grant I get is like journal operating support, and the opportunity that I have to do a type of program that may not be automatically or already baked into what I yearly had already planned for. And this is an opportunity to showcase something that could either benefit the district or add some new clarity or deepen an artistic relationship within the community with a particular subject matter or something of that nature. And the timeline that you have to be able to take advantage of the opportunity, it will both benefit the organization and the city, and it would give the agency a bit of visibility that we may not have been able to see before. That's the type of instance. I think many organizations sometimes who may already be grantees may have opportunities that they would like to also take advantage of that were not available or did not come across their desks before they became a grantee, or the timeline in which they could take advantage of it may not be within the timeline when the next grant cycle would particularly open in a sense.
Okay, so to clarify, grantees are eligible to receive sponsorship.
Yes, they can, but we have, like, if we look at some of these, some of the things that we do have lined out here, we always say that the first line of defense is a grant. So if the thing you're asking for and you have the runway and it could be a grant, that's the first thing you should move for. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think it's fair to say that if you have an opportunity that could benefit the district, benefit the agency, also benefit your organizations, come to us. And if there are funds available to see that particular vision through, let's have a conversation to see if we can support, or if we can even point you in the line where you could find other support that might be more readily available. And I'll get to some of that later on, because everybody should be aware that the process is, we are in no way guaranteeing even if we say, yes, we want to be a sponsor, we want to do that. That's not a guarantee at all. I mean, we've had 2 or 3 instances where there are projects that I've wanted to see happen that OCP was not able to move forward with whatsoever. And it didn't mean that it fell outside of any of these parameters. It just meant that the timeline and the runway just was not working with their processes internally, because again, we don't have contracting authority. We have permission to ask for support from a third party, another agency, to support that. And, yeah,
I
so
think Chase
Chase?
has his hand up. Chase has his hand up. Carla, Carla, please mute your phone.
Okay.
Chase.
Yes.
Hey Aaron, thanks for putting this
Yes.
together. This is great. I have a question around the inside outside the grant cycle thing. If, for instance, an event organizer approaches us and you point them to, because they're inside a grant cycle, and you point them to the grant and they apply for the grant and they are unsuccessful, and then that event organizer pursues a sponsorship route, what have you thought about that scenario and what is the process there?
So that is something I personally have thought about. I'm thinking of like the runway, because by the time they would know that they are not eligible for the event, we'll be starting up with a new budget year in a sense. So most of the events that we've been able, or if we're able to sponsor support, really is difficult for them to happen at the beginning of any budget year, because ideally all the money that we put forth within our budget, we have appropriately, planned for. And so anytime that agencies have a little extra money to use on the back end, it's not because they said, oh, we're just going to not spend down this so that we can use it for a sponsorship possibly later. It means that, we had 18 people or 10 people who were planning to do professional development at a certain amount. It didn't always, they didn't meet that threshold. We see by February that by this time, all of them will not meet them. And so we see that we may have a little extra in that particular space. Well, it gives us an understanding that, well, we have a little money to use. So that's something that we can definitely consider as far as codifying, as far as the policy is concerned, to put around that. But if they have not made, in my opinion, if they've not met our own threshold for a grant, I don't see where it would be helpful or in their favor where they would be able to then receive a sponsorship from us.
Is that, I tend to agree with you, but I'm only one voice. Is that something that we should actually put in this?
That's what I said. I think it's something we should consider codifying and adding into the policy. Yeah. And this is a draft, just so everybody.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for all your work on this, Aaron.
Thank you. As we go to 4.1.2, new relationship with the commission. The event may have been in existence, but either the producing entity or the community served by the event is a community that the commission does not have an established relationship. Partnering with the event allows the commission to build on a relationship with a new entity and a new set of artists who may become future grantees. I looked at this, especially when we thought about the Latin community, Hispanic community. When we just finished the music census, it was kind of blaringly obvious that the commission does not have a deep relationship within that community. So this is something I think that we could really do to learn more about that community and to make sure that we are actually kind of penetrating it. Because as far as at least from our email list and our outreach, we're not seeing the response from that community as I think we should. So I think of that. I also think of things like the hip hop community. I know there's a lot of focuses on go-go, but hip hop community, we are just now entering in, creating some deepening relationships in that particular realm as well. So there's different elements of art in which, in communities that we want them to at least know about us and at least know that if they can't get grants, they could possibly benefit from some of the networking relationships that we create. Point 3, new or expanded audiences or scope that requires a one-time increase in funds. The event is an established event, but is growing and seeking one-time additional funding to expand their vision and outreach to new communities of artists. Again, this is from the contract side, so this is not saying anything about incentivizing or expanding upon a grant whatsoever. And I think that for many presenters and producers and festival producers, I think this is something that some of them may like or see, because there are many instances where, what you built it and, the theme is if you build it, they will come. And what happens when they all come and they all bring a friend, and you're almost there at the end. And sometimes you may need a little bit of help toward that end. We don't want to be a deterrent. So that's something that we can definitely consider. The only thing about that, though, is that like we never can guarantee on our end exactly how long that process takes. And so none of these sponsorships should ever be considered right now, ready to go money. Something that if you need next week or this month, this is probably not the route you ought to go. But if you can wait 3 or 4 months possibly, and for us to get a determination, that's not, just a determination, then this may be something that you want to take advantage of. And then point 4, the event being held in DC serves an artistic audience with which the commission does not have an established relationship. The event serves a wide range of local artists and creatives, or provides an incredible opportunity for artistic growth and development in the district. If the entity is an independent producer from outside the city, the funds must be used specifically for the payment and inclusion of DC-based artists. Some of the partnerships we have, like with the Recording Academy, what we've seen and what we will see, there's a great opportunity here, even in our building. They're going to do a sound immersion, a spatial audio type of training, where normally this would only be Recording Academy members. Now it's now open up to all of our grantees who are in audio engineering, those in the community. So this gives us a way to kind of remove the gates and not be gatekeepers, but kind of open it up so people can take advantage of some of these particular opportunities. I'm going to pause there real quickly before we look at some of the proposed and some of the thought of procedures. Eric, for any questions so far? Feedback? Okay, let's go down to procedures. A partner or community member will then contact an employee of the commission or commissioner about a project that they would like funded that is outside of the standard grant funding cycle. After meeting with the director, events team, and or agency department head, the first step is for the entity to complete a sponsorship request form to gather additional information about the project and why the entity is requesting funding outside the standard grant cycle. After the sponsorship request form is completed.
Excuse me, Aaron.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. We keep, and I really got to push back on this one. We've really got to clarify where we keep saying outside and inside the grant cycle, because there's some sponsorships that really have nothing to do with grants per se, in terms of our grant cycle and our grants program. So we've got to think through that a little bit more, because we keep pushing it into the grant cycle.
Well, just a quick clarification. A lot of these are event-based. And so it's specifically event-based outside of the project events and festivals timeframe. I think that was what the point is. So many of these are event-related that's why.
But we'll take a look at that language, Richard. And
we just need to change the language so it's more clear. So
it's not confusing. It's easy for people to conflate.
Hector has a question.
Yeah, I do. I'm working with or trying to support an organization that celebrates Dia de los Muertos, who actually gets space at the National Mall on an annual basis. This is a cultural event per se that brings in thousands of individuals into their arena, and very homogeneous type of group. And they've had difficulty for the longest time to get any kind of funding from the commission, simply because it is not perceived as an arts organization in the traditional sense. But in many ways, it's a culturally sensitive and a group that has tremendous amount of participation throughout all of Latin America, yet it has been substantially excluded from any funding. And yet, for example, last year I participated in it by attending, and there was arts, there were performers, and they don't even have the money to pay for performers. They basically provide this entire process with no cost and certainly no support from the city. Yet they have a permission from the National Park Service as an acknowledged cultural event, yet we don't acknowledge it. That's a real dichotomy in terms of what is valued or not in a community. And this is an event, purely an event, and it's done by a nonprofit.
If I can say something, it's also very hard. End of October is a very hard time of year to get funds out to someone just because of if you apply for the grant the year before, you probably won't have your money by the event. And if you apply as part of a sponsorship, a 1 month is not enough turnaround. So that is actually a very tricky time frame.
But I will say something, and usually, and to your point, Hector, this is something that a lot of cultural events, they face the same issue.
Right.
Exactly.
And I think that, so if this was brought to my desk, and I'm not making any let me just go, I am not making, this is all hypothetical. I'm not making not one promise on the behalf of the District of Columbia in case OCP is looking in at this and the other. But if something like this is brought to my desk, I would look and see how well I could forecast, if possible, to see what support we could offer and what mechanism we could possibly use to support something of that nature, especially now I have to speak from me being executive director and seeing at least the evidence from the music census. That's a community that we have not done a good job whatsoever in penetrating. And I feel that that would be a way for that community to learn more about who we are, what we have as opportunities that they can take advantage of, and then ways that we could further even deepen our relationship and connect them with other artists within the greater arts community.
I have, through months-long effort, made connections with the education department because it does have an educational component to it, and they are going through or have gone through the grants process. Obviously, we don't know whether or not they will be receiving the grants and dollars. However, that process they've gone through several times before and been denied. Yet again, we put them back in. They participated in all the orientation, all the informational sessions that they need in conformity with the commission to see if this year they will get it. I'm not advocating let's give them the money.
Of
Yes, I
course.
do because I believe in it. But because I understand that there is a clear definition. But I find it really striking that in past events, it's such a jumping through hoops to be able to get through something that the Latino community basically participates in because it's an event that takes event from the early afternoon to literally 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning with a very special permission from the Park Service. And it's a big cultural event.
Right,
that
right.
has been ignored and denied year after year by the commission. And I'm glad that you're talking about these culturally sensitive particular sponsorships, but this is exactly one that would, be quite, it's evident that it's happening and much to our detriment.
No, and thank
So
you for,
I'm
yeah.
sorry if I may, I have to apologize. I don't understand the basis on which we don't fund it. Can someone help me understand why we don't fund these types of events?
I'm happy to talk about this offline. I know the event very well. So Hector, this does not need to be part of this, but I'm happy to talk about this afterwards.
Is it
Okay.
because it's outside of, here I go again, but I've got to do it. Is it because it's outside of the grant cycle? Because I think we've got to separate these things.
Right. So I'm not 100% sure of the event or as far as what the history is. So I don't want to misspeak and I don't want to give an opinion based upon something I'm not 100% full on that. So
Right.
allow me
I'd
to
be
get some
anxious.
information on
Yeah, perhaps
Yeah.
it is a side conversation, but I'm anxious to understand
Right.
what is the basis
Right.
upon us not funding something like this. And it may be justified, it may not, but I'd just like to understand it.
Right.
And I'd
Okay.
also like to find out, like I said, if we're talking about a grant, that's different. There are many times over the years, and I've been with this commission long enough to know that we have sponsored and partnered with organizations that have nothing to do with grant monies. They come out of a different part of the budget.
Mhm.
So we really need to think through what we're doing here.
I agree.
So as we go forward with our procedures, if the request meets the standards for sponsorship per the review of the standing committee, applicant will then be referred to for sponsorship, and the process for completing the sponsorship form and payment documents needed by the resource allocation team shall begin. So you have the standing committee, and it says your standing committee for sponsorship shall be determined by the executive director. It may consist of members of each department in the commission, including members of comms, events, community outreach, DEI, public arts, or grants. And we wanted to make sure that a lot of eyes get a chance to kind of see it and run it through, but also gives me an opportunity to talk to the managers for each one of them, and they can determine based upon workload and so on and so forth, who would be best in that particular situation. Point 2, standing committee review. Once the committee reviews the sponsorship request form and finds that it meets one or more of the sponsorship eligibility requirements, and if available funds have been identified, the events team shall contact the applicant for the following documents: W-9, clean hands, a sponsorship deck. I want to say the sponsorship deck
You move up the view for those watching.
Sponsorship deck, and then the quote for services rendered, including benefits received by the commission. It's my opinion that every type of partnership that we engage with or would engage in, if we did this, the taxpayer needs to understand what that investment is going to be, what the commission and what the community is getting out of this, why our bolstering and our support is going to support that community and the commission.
Aaron, I want to go back a bit to
yes, ma'am.
Standing committee to sponsorship shall be determined by the executive director and may consist of members of each department within the commission, including members of comms, events, blah, blah, blah.
Yes,
Does this mean, are you suggesting that it not go past the executive committee at all?
Well, remember, we discussed this. This is on the admin side. So the executive committee does not have the granting authority. You have granting authority, but not contracting authority.
I'm aware of that, but that has nothing to do with informational purposes or it being presented to the committee.
It can be shared.
In other words,
it
can be shared, but this suggests that the commissioners have absolutely no input or discussion about this because it's all being handled internally. That's what I'm reading.
Again, we can share from that standpoint, but the committee can't like vote on that kind of thing. I know you're not. It's the inference of it because our meetings are public, and it also be inferred that although you have not taken a vote, it could be interpreted that maybe a comment or something said in a public meeting could infer that either we have already committed to or we've already guaranteed something. So we can report back and use this protocol. The idea was that the executive committee would see the procedure and the protocol and agree to the procedure and the protocol, but we would then, of course, share in the level of transparency all that has been happening and all that happens with these processes and the people
would
who apply.
Would that be shared with the executive committee?
Yes, it would be.
So I would like to see that indicated, please.
But I actually have a broader question, which is this a proposal from the staff to the executive committee and to the commissioners for approval, or is just FYI, or what governance are we following here?
This is, if we remember the last time we spoke, we said that I would come back for to show you all a format, a procedure that we would be having, and that you all would have input on the procedure.
Okay, that's my question. What is but at the end of the day, it's FYI, we can have input, but the final determination of this policy is in the hands of the staff and not the commissioners?
Yes.
Well, I
think curious to me.
I think, and that is,
did Reggie finish?
Okay, sorry, I thought Reggie
I didn't finish. No, I was not finished. I was that seems curious to me.
Yes, it does.
How money would be spent, by the commission is not the purview of the commission itself, but rather just with the staff. I just find that curious. So I need to understand from the statute or whatever, if that is the process.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Julianne.
Yes, I'm here. I asked the similar question that Reggie is asking, and that Gretchen is also asking. And the response that I got is that similar to what Aaron has stated, we as commissioners, as board members, do not have contracting authority. We cannot say, you must do this contract with this company. We cannot say, do this sponsorship. We can't even vote on it, right? It's very different than the granting cycle, the granting just referenced here. And the question that I think is still remaining from that is that which that is true, right? But what is, I think, unresolved is that this could be 200,000, 300,000. We don't know if we are not involved, because part of our role is to support the commission and support all these sponsorships that are going to be done. And so I think that that's still something that is unresolved with the members. And what the staff has done is set up a procedure so that it's transparent how they are making these decisions, right? And what my question is, and what I've experienced in my first year of serving on the commission, is that we are not really informed on what events we are sponsoring. I want to support the events that are being sponsored. I don't want it to be some sort of weird thing where like maybe the commissioners are going to be against this or something and we don't have a good communication thing. I don't know what it is exactly, and I don't have the time to know. I just want to know when we're sponsoring something, what level we're sponsoring it at, what type of sponsorship it is, so that we can serve in our roles. And that's where I think Gretchen and Reggie's questions are actually really critical to answer down to the minutia, which we all understand that the contracting authority is not with the members. I think, is
Absolutely.
that
If I
Yes,
may,
Well, let me go back to some history because I've been around a while. The commission had a very bad reputation many years ago because the executive director then and the staff just gave out sponsorships and awarded partnerships, all over the place. People would find out about them when they read our name on a program at an event they were attending. There was no internal review to the commissioners about what was going on and who was being considered and why these were considered over others. I don't want to see that happen again to us. And quite frankly, it was the then ED and some of the staff that really took the weight on this because they were doing that. We can't have that happen again.
absolutely, absolutely. Yes, Hector?
if I- right now, the grants process is very much done by a grant review panel. We basically do not participate in the process. The only concern or thought is so much as to establishing what limitations, something that we know that this is a working procedure for this kind of sponsorship, where there is the limitations of the levels of sponsorship and what is the formal evaluative process. Right now we have review panels. Well, in the absence of review panels, having these and then after that, informing back that this decision was being made and why it was made and substantiated with whatever backup may be necessary, because after all, these are tax dollars. But the concept of sponsorships at this level, that I pass the grant review process simply because that perhaps cannot work within the systems or the program is ideal. I'd like the idea of doing the sponsorship very much, but I think the pitfalls are that it cannot be seen or perceived as a willy-nilly granting of, that there is no formalized procedure or criteria for eligibility. And once that is established, and I think that this is a document in the making, once that is established, I think we will all be really happy with it, because I think it'll be very successful process to establish for the commission, because too many organizations, too many individuals are left out because they don't fall into a certain conformity of what we're used to doing. This is really rather innovation, and I like that because it opens doors.
Well, and also, Aaron, I want it like we are also trying to protect you and to protect the staff, right? We don't want it to be perceived that you're giving sponsorships or the staff is giving sponsorships to their friends, or events or festivals or conferences that you or any member of the staff had prior affiliation with before taking your jobs in DC government. We want to make sure, and again, public perception is public perception, and we want to make sure that we are protecting you and protecting the staff, and that this process is seen as ethical and transparent to the community.
Yes, Chase.
Hey,
Chase.
Aaron. I would just say, I think you and the staff should feel really good about this. It's more transparency than we've ever had in this process, and we just need a little more to pass the sniff test for public taxpayer dollars. So a few levels deeper, and I echo what Hector says. I think we'll all be really happy.
Yeah, it's something that we need. We just have to do it right.
Yeah. It's just a matter of those little pitfalls. So it doesn't just seem, Aaron, that it's something that you're approving with a group of people within your team, because that also can be seen as, well, it's a closed circuit or a closed little club that is going to making these approvals. But we want to be able to get out of that, because there's got to be some kind of objective criteria that has some evaluation process, that has some history, that we could say, yes, we could back this up, because it falls out of the normal grant processes. And that should make it happen. But that innovation, frankly, I've been clamoring and hoping that exists for years.
Well, I think we have a good start. We just need to.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, we have a good start, Aaron. And I think you've gotten our feedback. I don't see any more hands.
Would you share this document with us? Perhaps that we could help in submitting some ideas of language you may consider, or ideas. Because I
Absolutely.
think you've done a tremendous amount of work in it, and I think
Yeah.
it's got all the foundation we need. Is just a matter of, so we can secure that our thought processes are expressed and put in place. But
Absolutely.
the work is done.
And any of the partnerships that we have done over this time, we will send that over there to you as well. You can see how they fit into these mechanisms, because all the decisions have fallen within this particular realm here. And that way you can have that as well.
Perfect. Thank you. That would be fantastic.
Reggie, did you have a comment? No, I guess not. Okay. Did we finish the slide? Aaron, did you go all the way down? It's not on the screen
I thought
anymore.
y'all were.
We
had it,
did.
but it's
We
not-
reached the end.
Go through, but it looked like y'all may have read through it and kind of garnered
think-
your.
Christian, I thought you said we were done.
Okay,
Yes, I was
we're
under the
done.
impression. I was like, okay, well,
Great.
all in
Got it.
now.
All right, we're done.
I think there's a few things I want to say to this. So, as someone who comes from the world of advocacy and people who have gone to, I think one thing I can recall back, I remember when I was when I was founding chair for Oasis Dance Company, that's now Black Leaves. And so, which is one of our grantees actually. And I remember the first year that I had gone around on Metro to different entities trying to get support and funds for this predominantly young Black queer dance company here in Washington, D.C. and was getting zero traction. And I was very confused, because I had witnessed and sat on other boards where I would use the exact same format and was not able to, and they were able to get traction, but we were not able to do the same thing. And I saw someone who said, well, just go to the city. And that's a very vague term, by going to the city. You don't know, go to the council, you go to so on and so forth, you go to an agency, you go to call those, who do you go to in a particular sense? And then as you start to peel back the onion, you then realize that people have been going to agencies this entire time, large corporations, and these, sometimes I could say predominantly white organizations or white-led organizations who know a friend and know a buddy who's able to get so-and-so hooked up and this, that, and the other. And whenever entities and people go to reach out to government agencies for support, Reggie?
Someone's got to mute. Please mute.
Someone needs to
We have
mute.
a personal conversation.
There we go. When you go to these entities, it's unclear about what the process is like. You never know what's happening on the other side. You never know I've sent a request and I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not sure if they like it, if it even is what they're looking for, or if they're able to do this, that, and the other. So I think from the advocacy standpoint, with us being able to be public with this particular type of process, it gives those who are trying to advocate for their neighborhoods, their communities, and this, that, and the other, it gives them a bit of information and a bit of a roadmap to know, hey, should I even waste my time? But also it level sets like, hey, this is not a guarantee. This is the commission saying we're going to partner with you to make a request. And OCP, who has their own process, will help make the decision. But at least we know we have the authority to partner with you to make this particular
Aaron,
decision.
your point's well taken.
No, I'm
However,
saying this for the public because it's the public meeting, so
right,
the public
but
can understand where we're coming from.
I think everybody, especially the public, agrees it's a good idea. We just need to do it the right way. And back to the point that Reggie and I made initially, we need to have some kind of executive overview. And especially when we're talking about large amounts of money sometimes in these sponsorships and partnerships. So I don't think that all of the commissioners need to be completely left out of the process. And that's what the document showed me. It didn't show us as having any kind of review. So that's what I think you need to tweak it a bit.
Oh, absolutely.
But I mean, everything you've done there so far, I like. Okay. Whoops. Chase, are you on? I know you're on. What is this?
I'm here.
Foundation Committee. Chase,
I
you're
am
the
here.
star.
A white male in my burnt orange shirt. I have a little thing prepared before this. I'm a bit embarrassed because I didn't realize that the document itself that we are discussing would be made public today. It is absolutely not intended to be a public document because it's in severe draft form. If there's a way to withdraw the document from being public at this point, that might be preferred, primarily because this is a working draft with errors, omissions, and forthcoming changes. And it has actually not been approved to be made public by all the members of the committee whose names are on the document. I'm just going to start there.
Can I ask that the people who updated the website that are on this call, please make sure to remove this document from the website and keep it leave a placeholder on the agenda, but please do not post this publicly. Thank you.
I would thank you. I would appreciate the whole public not seeing all of our errors and sausage making until the whole committee is ready to make it public, which we hope to do in about a month.
Right.
The intent of including a foundation conversation in this executive committee meeting is to preview with you all the overall format and kind of high level buckets of information that we plan to share in September in the final report, and just get some feedback of major gaps, major omissions, or major questions that you all might have. So I'll go ahead and just go through what we plan to share, not in detail. It's just kind of the broad strokes, and submit that for feedback to you all to hear what you say, so that we can submit a document, a final report that is worthy of this executive committee. So let me just switch screens and pull that up for myself. Okay. So the purpose of this document is to create a set of recommendations that will discuss what needs the DC cultural community, what needs in the DC cultural community are unmet and could be served by a private foundation, discuss legislative and legal clarity on any relationship between a private foundation and the commission, and discuss governance best practices for a foundation that we have researched based on models in and outside of Washington. And so that's kind of the introduction of the document we'll be submitting. We will submit what we have determined to be the foundation objectives, or what we determine would be good objectives for a foundation if it were to be created. And I think I've previewed these with everyone before in public meetings, so I'll say them real quickly. Provide funding for large cultural events, fill in gaps of public cultural funding beyond what CAH is providing, and serve as a convener in regional art and philanthropy space, bridging stronger connections, more education, more benefits to artists and funders to sort of talk more. I will come back to a question about the second one, filling in the gaps of public funding. One way to do that is with fiscal sponsorships. There is a lingering question about that, which I'll get to in a minute. The report will include background and context of the conversation. The conversation about a foundation started long before I was here. I think before anyone on this call was part of the commission. So it is a long conversation, but in short, in January, we all had a retreat and we put some formal ideas down, and those formal ideas were sort of the starting point from which this committee has been working from that January retreat. And so that's kind of the background and context that we'll be sharing. We'll also be sharing, not in depth, but some models for success that we have seen both here in DC, including the Library Foundation, and around the country, of relationships that public arts agencies have with private foundations. There's a spectrum of a depth in those relationships, and we'll share what we learned, and then we'll move on to sharing what we think is appropriate for DC. We will share a bit about how the sausage was made, how we arrived at some of this work, at some of these recommendations, and that includes, in large part, examining and going back over a bunch of community feedback surveys that the commission has done, notes from public meetings that the commission has had, and then our own conversations that this committee has had with people in the district. We will talk about the relationship that we recommend a foundation of this nature has with CAH. That would include, we'll include a brief overview. We'll include a governance relationship, which actually we are going to recommend that an ex officio spot on the board of a foundation of this nature would be reserved for the chair of the commission. That has been approved by BEGA. So we've gotten legal clarity on that, among other issues. And we will also ask a question, and this is what I previewed before, about fiscal sponsor considerations. We do think that a fiscal sponsorship model could be really useful because we've seen that in other cities. And so the question that I would maybe put forth to this group, hopefully to get back to me, not necessarily today, but over email, would be, can the commission provide more than one sort of grant through the same fiscal sponsor? So I'm gonna use Fringe as an example. Fringe has a bunch of people that want to apply for grants but can't for various reasons. So they use Fringe as a fiscal sponsor. Could we give 5 different grants through Fringe to 5 different organizations? That's a question that our committee has, and we don't actually know the answer to that. But it would be helpful to know the answer to that in order to make a set of recommendations that would apply to the commission. We will also discuss limits of the relationship that we believe are appropriate and ethical and legal. So you'll hear 2 of those. And then we'll discuss next steps. And the next steps aren't going to be too lengthy because it's really not up to us as a commission or a committee to start something like this. But we will be able to make available information, materials, certainly share learnings, be in conversation with. That's perfectly fine. What we're not going to do, again, legally, fiduciarily, is actually start this thing as a committee. That's not our role. And then we will also include supporting documents like those stakeholder feedback surveys, some notes that we have, and we're still collecting other documents that we might want to share. And then finally, we will have brief bios of all committee members, just so everyone knows who is behind this work. And I would now like to get just some quick feedback, kind of a pulse check from all of you. Are is everything I described what you're looking for? Do you think it will be productive? And is there anything missing?
I can say for the record, since I'm on
Yeah.
the committee, that I'm
Yeah.
fully supportive. Thank you.
Ditto. I'm on the committee also.
I'm not on the committee and I'm supportive. The only thing I would like to have is some kind of clarity. It is obvious, I think, that in what has been discussed, that this is a non-tax funded. In other words, the city does not have to fund any part of it. The only question that I have is, does it come legally within the purview of what the commission can do? I mean, the commission itself can do and employ its people to do some kind of the legwork or cross-utilize in cooperation with data and information. So those are some of the questions. Yeah.
Thank you. And real quickly to answer that, we do have clarity on that. It is not for the commission or employees of the commission to spend their working hours starting this thing or being involved in it. Obviously, if a foundation is out there, it is beneficial for the commission to be in conversation with them. That's sort of the convening part of it. That's different than starting and working and doing the thing. So there is a distinction there for sure.
Because because there is language here that basically says that the foundation requires that every donor commits only new funds to the foundation and rejects funds that effectively cut into existing funding for grantees of CAH. Now, the question on something like that, is that going to be a detriment? Because if it's a corporate funder, they could do both. I mean, for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't think that it's in our purview to really audit or figure out whether a given arts organization is getting funding from, let's say, Ford Foundation, and we're going after Ford also. They're two different fund sources.
It would not be
what I'm saying?
It would not be up to CAH to do anything differently. It would be up
okay.
to the foundation when they are soliciting I'm going to make numbers up, soliciting a gift of $1 million from a family, to say to that family, we are accepting gifts only that are not already committed, for instance, to arts organization in DC if this foundation is going to be funding them. So some of the language that we need to that's in there, again, it's a draft form, not meant to be public.
Yeah.
Basically, the goal of this is, we heard a lot of community feedback, a lot. I can't emphasize this enough, that a foundation like this cannot cannibalize current giving.
Okay.
So we will work on the language to make it better, but that's basically what we're saying. Yeah.
Would you be accepting funds that are non-specified for any particular program? In other words, this is just basically unrestricted funds that you're looking for this foundation to be able to do whatever it wishes based on its purview as a funding arm for arts organizations or individuals.
Well, I'm not accepting any funds because I have nothing to do with the foundation after September.
But I'm just saying, putting some of what kind of funds are you looking for? Are you looking for funds that are programmatic, that say, okay, this is to be used for that? Or is it just really unrestricted funds? Because that's a big difference in organizations who accept funds, as you know.
Great question. And those are questions that I don't think are in the purview of this committee to answer. Those are more operational and structural in nature that we really shouldn't be getting into.
But you are establishing structure in this committee.
I don't believe we're not establishing. We're not establishing
not an operating
structure,
but okay, all right.
No.
Right, and it would be the purview of the foundation to make those decisions.
Okay.
I mean, we have to move from the commissioner, Chase, who's done an absolutely phenomenal job.
No, I agree.
So we'll be moving from that to the foundation. So it's not the commission and the foundation together. It's totally separate.
Yeah, and it's worth saying we actually did take out several parts of the original draft. I'm glad those didn't make it in here, because we felt they were too operational in nature, that we weren't comfortable as a public body even making recommendations on. That just wouldn't have been appropriate. So we are making more high level recommendations around the state of the arts and arts funding, and we are making one specific recommendation around not cannibalizing because that's what almost everyone has said. But
Right.
other than that, we are really we're staying on our side of the fence.
No, I think it's great. It's incredible work, and I think I agree with Reggie. We've needed something like this for the longest time, and
Yeah.
it's a great offshoot. So yes, I think it's great.
The one additional thing I'll say, and I agree with everything that's been said, is the premise of this is if we are interested in all artists and all arts organizations in Washington, D.C., and the Arts Commission is restricted from helping some, ones that don't have 501c3. This is why we are recommending that an entity, an outside foundation, takes on that charge. That's the position that we're taking here. So we're not trying to step out of our lane unnecessarily. We are trying to think about the constituents that we want to serve in DC broadly, and not just those that are applicable within the Arts Commission.
Thank you for reminding us of that, Reggie.
Since it's a public meeting, I wanted to make that point.
Yeah.
Right. It's a noble effort that we're trying to put forward here.
There's actually a really beautiful through line of this entire meeting, from what Aaron was saying to what we're saying here in this part of the meeting, of trying to make sure everyone gets access.
Absolutely.
And there's some ways to do that within the commission. There's some ways where the commission can't do it, and we will make a recommendation that someone else take on that mantle, because we just see the whole picture as a commission. So I think it's really beautiful that we're all doing this.
Yeah, this discussion's been going on for a while. I remember, just to give another example of an organization, they are hired by lots of event spaces in this town to do what they do, but they live in Maryland, and they don't, as an organization, they're a go-go band, to be honest with you. They couldn't get any kind of grants from us, even though every place you look around, they're performing, but they couldn't get grants because they live in Maryland. They don't have an organization that's a nonprofit. I even suggested that they try to form one in DC, but it hasn't happened, and they're too busy doing what they do to look at that business piece of it. This kind of foundation could help that kind of group.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
If
no,
they so choose, which is not at all part of our purview to decide.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Chase. All right. Any questions, comments, thoughts?
No,
Okay,
other than me thanking you, Gretchen, for stepping in and sharing it, and thanking everyone else for participating. My apologies again for not being visible, but
we know you're
listening
there. We hear
nonetheless.
that voice. We hear that voice. We know you're there.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, if there being no further business, the next meeting of the commission will be held on Monday, August the 19th, 2024 at 5:30. It will be a virtual meeting. I'd like to thank everyone for attending, and we are now officially adjourned at 5:19 p.m.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.